There we go. So can you still hear me okay? Okay, so just a little bit about me. So I studied psychology at Loughborough University to start with. I then did my master's in sport and exercise psychology there as well. And that was where we looked into the benefits of exercise for different clinical populations, which led me on to become a level 3 personal trainer and level 4 exercise and rehabilitation. When I specialised both in cancer and then later went on to work with people with neurological conditions. And one of the reasons for that was because, my mum actually has multiple sclerosis, and my uncle was Tom Isaacs, who I don't know if any of you know about, but he was one of the co-founders of Cure Parkinson's Trust. And in 2002, that was his first real involvement in Parkinson's and in the research. He walked around the coast of Britain raising 350,000 for Parkinson's research. And he was just really passionate about finding a cure, which led him to later set up the Cure Parkinson's Trust with 2 others. And he was diagnosed very young as well. He was diagnosed age 27 in 1996. And he also took part in a really interesting trial. I don't know if any of you've seen it. It's on BBC, and it's I think it's called the Parkinson's drug trial, and it's about GDN. And the idea of that was being able to bring back dying dopamine neurons. So really, really promising research. I mean, it's a really interesting documentary if any of you want to go away and watch it. Sadly, he died in 2017, but he leaves on a great legacy, and he was one of the reasons that inspired me to work with more people with Parkinson's and provide exercise to help people both delay the progression of the disease and also help manage symptoms and side effects. So in March 2020, I started up Bounce Back Exercise, and the aim of that was to support people with long-term clinical conditions, aiming to make exercise more inclusive and accessible. So just going into the benefits of exercise. So there are 2, I've split this into 2 different groups. So first of all, preventing and slowing down the progression of the disease. So research has shown that exercise can slow down the progression of the disease, but the molecular and biological reasons for this do remain a little bit unknown and a bit of a mystery. There are a few theories, though, of why this is. One of these is that because dopamine is a neurotransmitter responsible for controlling and coordinating movements, people with Parkinson's experience a loss of nerve cells in the brain responsible for producing dopamine. When the amount of dopamine released in the brain is reduced, movements then become slow and abnormal. And research on mice suggests that exercise doesn't actually affect the amount of dopamine produced, but can actually modify the areas of the brain where dopamine signals are received, meaning that dopamine will be used more efficiently and therefore potentially reducing the progression of Parkinson's disease. So that is one sort of theory, bit of research behind it. There have been many other similar ones. Physical activity has also been associated with the changes in neurotransmitter levels as well. So exercise could potentially stimulate the growth and development of new cells, as well as resulting in improved memory and cognitive function. But a lot does remain unknown about the mechanisms linking exercise with Parkinson's progression. But we do know that exercise is a safe and affordable way of managing Parkinson's symptoms and could even delay disease progression. So just going into exercise in managing symptoms now. So exercise, again, is really beneficial in helping managing many symptoms, both relating to the actual Parkinson's and also the Parkinson's medications that you may be on. So this includes improving muscular strength and preventing functional decline. So exercise can help improve your ability to carry out daily tasks. That can be climbing the stairs, getting up from a chair, walking around your house, any kind of thing, just walking to and from places. It can help reduce feelings of stiffness and improve mobility. It can help improve posture, which is a common thing that can often go with Parkinson's. There's that tendency for people to drop their shoulders forwards. So exercise focusing on upper back muscles can be really beneficial in promoting posture. It can help improve balance and gait. It can improve overall cardiovascular function, increasing the oxygen delivery to the heart and lungs. It can improve your mood, reduce depression, stress, and anxiety. It can help prevent social isolation. It can reduce motor symptoms, and it will overall improve the ability to manage daily life. So in terms of which exercise is best, NHS guidelines suggest that every adult should take part in 150 minutes of cardiovascular exercise and 2 strength sessions each week. So that is quite a broad and general guideline. However, in terms of Parkinson's symptoms, it's important to challenge your balance, coordination, and posture, because those are things that are also affected by Parkinson's. Exercises that involve repetitional movement sequences and exercise to improve power can be really beneficial in reducing motor symptoms. It's also important to perform exercises that involve mental tasks, such as changing directions and complex challenges. Another example of this could be any kind of dual tasking exercise where you're, for example, you're standing on one leg, or you're walking at the same time as doing a cognitive task. So that could be counting backwards, or naming categories of dogs or categories of animals, something similar. So Parkinson's does affect everyone, so there is no ideal solution, but quite general broad recommendations are take part in aerobic exercise. So that's your cardiovascular exercise that supports functional movement. So that could be walking, cycling, if that's your preference, any kind of thing that elevates the heart rate, gets the blood pumping. Perform muscle strengthening exercises involving functional, meaningful movements. So that means things that resemble everyday activities. Like a squat is a great exercise to practice, because that is very similar to the movement of sitting down and standing up from your chair. So something that we all need to do, and we all should practice. Strengthening exercises just in general, they are so important and very often neglected, but as we age and our bone density and our muscle mass decreases, really important to practice those kind of exercises. Also important to practice exercises that again challenge balance, coordination, and posture. If you're suffering from fatigue and you're finding it hard to exercise, one of the things I recommend to start with is focusing on exercise snacks. So that means just staying active throughout the day, rather than doing an hour's session or a 30-minute session all in one go. Just think about breaking your day down into every hour. On every hour, maybe do 1 minute or even 5 minutes if you're feeling up to it of some kind of exercise. That's a really good way of managing fatigue and getting some exercise in, because actually reducing inactivity is just as important as increasing activity. And then again, perform those exercises involving repetitional movements and sequences. So once you've got a movement, repeat it over and over again. So you're doing the same thing, just to create those neural pathways. Okay, so although exercise may not be a cure for Parkinson's, it has definitely been shown to be one of the most powerful treatments, and it can help people manage symptoms and side effects. And research has also shown it has been effective in slowing down the progression of the disease. But the question does still remain as to which exercise is best. And really, the exercise that is best does depend on your individual needs and also your preferences and goals, because it's so important to find the exercise that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you're never going to stick to it, and it's never going to become habit. So if there is something that you enjoy, whether it's dance or cycling, walking, strength training, that is going to be the best one for you. But yeah, in broad terms, exercise is a safe and enjoyable way of improving your health and fitness. So I'm just going to go through a few different types of exercises that can address different symptoms and side effects. I'm not sure if this will work. What I might do is at the end of this, I'll just go through a few demonstrations of some of these, because I do have a link. I'm just not sure if it's going to work. So I think I'll show you at the end instead. So balance exercises. For anyone who's struggling with balance, these are particularly important to practice. This can be things like a single leg stand or a heel to toe walk. So imagining you're walking on a tightrope. So just practicing these kind of exercises, the more you practice, the more your balance will improve. Then in terms of radiokinesia, or slow movement, which is a common symptom of Parkinson's, this can appear in difficulty with repetitive movements. It can cause a reduced arm swing or problems with walking, or walking in small shuffling steps. It can also cause difficulty in initiating movements and general slowness in physical activity. So that any exercises that encourage you to make over-exaggerated physical movements can help retrain the muscles to avoid those smaller shuffling movements. So that's, again, going back to those repetitional movements that I mentioned earlier. And these exercises can improve your ability to carry out both small and large motor tasks. So I don't know if any of you have ever come across PD Worry or PD Power, anything similar. So that's one of the classes I do in Croxley Green. And with the first 2 rounds of these session, we'll focus on those kind of exercises. So just really big movements, emphasizing where you're placing your hands, where you're placing your feet. So they're actually quite fun ones to do if you've ever tried them. Another thing that you can think of when you're doing these things, if you are struggling with that movement initiation or those small shuffling steps, making use of cues can be really helpful. So this can be even holding your hands in front of you or tapping a stick in front of you that can help initiate that first step, particularly when walking. So whether it's carrying a stick around with you to help you, or even a laser, if you point a laser in front of you where you're standing, that can help you just place that first foot forwards. Then just going on to muscle rigidity. Some of you may experience muscle stiffness or inflexible muscles. So that is another common symptom of Parkinson's. Sometimes it can occur on one side of the body, sometimes on both, and can contribute to a reduced range of motion as well as aches or pains in the muscles. So regular exercise in general can help strengthen the muscles and improve flexibility and mobility. But if there is a particular area that is overactive, you're finding gets stiff or tense, then important to focus on stretches for that specific area. So one common area is the calf muscles, that you might find that they get tight, or even the feet. You might feel the toes curl under. So stretching the calf muscles will be beneficial in that case, and strengthening the tibialis anterior, which is the muscle on the shin. So that's the opposing muscle, can help with that. And then lastly, in terms of muscle weakness, persistent muscle weakness can be caused by a variety of different factors. But in order to address this, it's really important, again, to focus on functional exercises. So these are exercises that allow you to effectively perform your day-to-day tasks. So again, going back to things like sitting down, standing up from a chair, walking the stairs. Functional exercises involve things where you're pulling. So when you pull, you're working your upper back muscles and your arms. So that could be like pulling a door open, exercises that involve, that replicate that movement. So if any of you have ever come across a resistance band or a TheraBand, the physios sometimes give them out. They're really useful tools to be able to practice those kind of pull exercises. And then the opposite, which is a push exercise. So that will resemble pushing a cupboard door or pushing a shopping trolley. So you can use those bands to help practice that. Okay, I'm just going to come out of here, and then I can just demonstrate a few of those. If anyone has any questions as well about any of these at the end, you're welcome to ask, and I can go back to a few. But I'll just go back to the balance one to start with. Just move this out of the way. Okay, so one balance exercise you can do, you're welcome to follow along with me while I do this, so you can just observe. This is just taking one foot, standing one foot in front of the other. And then once you're in this position, if you are feeling confident, you can add in an arm swing. So this should get a little bit harder. And then the third version is just taking your arms out to the side and then going for a bit of a rotation. So just going at your own level for this one. If you're finding just the one foot in front of the other hard, just stick with that one first. If you're finding it okay, add in the arm swing. And if you're feeling really confident, that's when you add in the rotation. So that is one exercise that can challenge your balance and help improve it. Then in terms of some exercises to promote bigger movements, one is going to be the small to big. So just crossing your arms, make yourself as small as you can, and then really exaggerating that movement, stepping out to big. So again, we're going from small movement, tapping yourself in, to as big as you can. You want to stretch your fingers wide. Imagine you're a firework exploding. So that is to help promote big movements, avoid those shuffling steps, really exaggerating those things, so small to big. Another one that we practice is the reach and sweep. So again, your hand comes out to the side, and then as big a movement as you can, sweeping all the way across the body. This is a nice one because it involves trunk rotation as well. And a common symptom of Parkinson's is stiffness in the hips and the trunk. So anything where we're rotating can be really beneficial. So reach and sweep, another nice one to practice to help promote those big movements. And then lastly, one I will demonstrate is, I mentioned that the hamstring is quite a common one to get tight. So stretching those overactive muscles down the back of the leg involves sitting on a chair, one leg in front, so you can all do this now, and then pulling the toes as far up towards the ceiling or as far up to your head as you can. You should feel that pull down the back of the leg. So those muscles, those calf muscles are stretched, and then the tibialis anterior on the front of the leg is being strengthened. It's contracting to control that movement. So if you experience tightness in the foot or in the back of the leg, a really good one to practice. You do one on one side, hold for 20 seconds, and then one on the other side, hold for 20 seconds. So just a few examples there of some of the exercises that we go through that we will practice in some of my classes and sessions. So I'll just go back again to the PowerPoint. Okay, yeah, so yeah, bounce back exercise. We offer a few different services. One of them is the bounce back plan, and this involves access to specialized exercise classes that address common symptoms and side effects, including balance fatigue and muscle weakness. It includes 4 online group classes a week, and these are live and on demand. So some people who can't make the live classes just follow along in their own time. And those are all delivered by Zoom. So this is a more popular option for people who prefer to exercise from their home and don't like to travel. Yeah, it's quite sometimes a more convenient option. It also involves group socials and a friendly WhatsApp support group, as well as monthly exercise challenges. So it's still quite interactive. You still get to know one another, but it's the online version. Then I also run one-to-one exercise sessions, and these take place both online at people's houses. So I do home visits quite often, and that does seem to be the most popular option because, again, people don't have to travel. It does make things a little bit easier. And I also work in the Croxley Green studio, so deliver one-to-one sessions there. And then I also run group exercise classes, again, both on Zoom and at the Fitwell studio. So I do 4 classes a week on Zoom, and then 2 at the studio. So I've got one that is funded partially by the West-Herts Parkinson's branch, and that is the PD Power group class. So you're very welcome to come along, give that a try. That is £2.50 per person, and we've got a nice small group at the moment there. We spend time warming up to start with. Then we'll go through 2 rounds of PD Power exercises, so similar to those big movements I showed earlier. And then we'll finish with 1 round of strength work, focusing on the main big muscle groups, again, then going back to those functional movements. So this is the group class timetable. So the 4 classes I do online, again, address different symptoms and side effects. So there's Strong and Fit, that addresses muscular strength and cardiovascular fitness. That's probably the most challenging one. Then there's a functional fitness one where we focus on skill-based tasks. So things like agility, power, balance, movement, coordination, reaction time. And then there's a core control and stretch class, which is similar to sort of yoga and Pilates. If any of you have ever tried any of that, we focus on lots of stretches and strengthening the core muscles, so stomach and back muscles. And then there's a strong and balanced class, where again we focus on strength, because just going back to those that NHS guidelines, where you should be covering 2 strength sessions a week. That's why we have 2 strength ones on there. And then we also go through some balance exercises. So if any of you have any questions about anything, just let me know. And I've left my contact details, and so I've got a Facebook page a Facebook, Twitter and Instagram page where I share different exercise recommendations. Also, I've got a YouTube channel where there's a few free YouTube videos as well you can follow along with in your own time. So I've left all those details at the bottom here. But if any of you do have any questions or want to get in touch, just let me know.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Beth. That was very interesting and instructive. And will you be able to send us your presentation through so that we can add that to our website as well? You're on mute, Beth.
Yes, yeah, I will.